If you've been running on empty, here's the trick. You don't start self care by adding more, you start by listening differently. Hey there, I'm Terry Thomas, and welcome to Terry's Next Chapter. Many of us were taught that self care is a selfish thing, or it's like we should be putting other people ahead of ourselves. And yes, obviously, we want to take care of other people. But what many of us have now realized is that grounded self care actually enables us to be better at taking care of others and taking care of our responsibilities and the things we want to take care of in this world, right? So there's nothing wrong with self-care, but here's the next step is it's also kind of become something that can feel like a should, or like it can be this big overwhelming thing, like you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start, you might be tired, you might be feeling burned out, and you don't even know where to start because it seems like there's so much advice out there, right? There's so much noise about what self-care looks like, and it can feel overwhelming because not only is there so much advice, but sometimes the advice is a complete life overhaul, which feels completely overwhelming. So not only should you feel guilty because you should put others before yourself, that's one, right? We can never get this right. Or you don't take good enough care of yourself. That's another thing I've felt guilty about. Oh, I'm tired, or I got sick and I must be doing something wrong. Just another thing to feel guilty for. But well, here's a tip. One first thing is to let go of that guilt. But I know that's easier said than done. So today I do want to give an idea about, what is good, what is self-care really. I've been around the self-care world since the beginning that I know of, right? And back in the 90s, we really started talking about that. And being a person who's been involved in the life coaching industry since its early days, I've been reading about, learning about, attempting various ways of performing self-care throughout the years, and all of it is with good intention, right? We want to take good care of ourselves, and like I said, I've been around since the beginning on this, and it can feel overwhelming. There's also that movie version of, oh, Calgon, take me away. That was an old commercial. That's dating myself, but getting away and taking a bath, or going to get a manicure. As you can see, I'm not a big manicure girl. It like, yeah, I they're not comfortable for me, but they're for whatever, whoever they're for, they're good. And all that can be part of self-care, right? But oftentimes when we feel like we need those things, it's already at a point where we're feeling overwhelmed or burned out or tired. And there are gentler ways to step into taking better care of ourselves. Self-care isn't really a checklist or routine that someone else teaches you. And like I said, I know that there's tons of noise out there. I've been reading the books for 30 years, but true self care starts with listening, tuning in and listening to yourself, to pause, to take that time to say, what is it that I need or want in any given moment, and to be able to give it to ourselves. There's a level of taking care of our needs, but also our wants, because a fulfilling life doesn't just include surviving and just getting by. It includes fulfilling lots of things that we want in our lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's, to me, part of self care. So, one tiny practice I'd love to just try today, if you'd like to do this with me, that we can do to kind of practice a little bit of self care. I'm going to move that out just a little bit. Okay, what I suggest, especially when you're just getting started and you want to learn to tune in and listen to your own voice, is to put your hands on your heart. It can be your belly, it can be both, and just take a moment and just whatever feels comfy to you, but just take a deep breath and just breathe into your belly, because that's where good breathing happens, is slowing down. And I can even feel it in myself right now. I've been talking fast, and I get into that too, but just close your eyes even and tune into your body and just slow it down, and like I said, breathe down into your tummy because that's where the deeper breath goes. And I just realized you can probably see my kitty scratches. But anyway, that's part of it, right? That's all part of life. Yeah. If you can breathe through your nose. I'm just getting over a cold myself, so there's a little bit. Just slow that down. And as you slow it down and you feel yourself relax, just ask yourself, what would feel best to me right now in this moment? It could be a need, it could be a want, it could be anything because, we're all in different places. Sometimes, you're really thirsty and you need a glass of water. We all keep our water bottles near us now, don't we? Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's, oh wow, I'm really tired. I just need a nap. I've learned the art of power napping. I think they're powerful and I highly recommend them. That's a great little self care technique to learn. Maybe you need a snack. Maybe you'd like a little walk. I've been doing more early morning walks to expose myself to light because my sleep hasn't always been great. So there's lots of things that we can experiment with, but the bottom line of this is to learn to get quiet, to tune in, and to see what is it in this moment right now that would feel best to me, whether it be something I really need, something I just want. Maybe I just want to call my daughter because I love talking to my kids, or maybe I want to watch a holiday movie because it's holiday season right now. There's it could be anything, but the point is to get quiet, to tune into yourself and say, what is it in this moment? Because that to me is true self-care. Nothing beats it. And then from there, as you start building that muscle of listening to yourself more, it'll grow and it'll get easier and quicker, and you'll be more in tune without needing to stop and pause and take all that. That's always great anyway, just to slow down. As I was saying, I get that, beats of going fast, but nothing feels better than just slowing down and taking that breath. Sometimes that's the moment of self care right there, just that alone, even without doing something else. Sometimes that moment of self care is to just stop and take a few deep breaths and just hear yourself, just have quiet. Especially now with all the noise, and all the screens and the dopamine everywhere, there's nothing better than coming back to quiet, and nothing more important than that right now, I think. And this works because our nervous systems are so amped, so many of us right now, with all the screens. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, having more technology available to us. It's how do we use it so that it doesn't control us, right? And we've lost that. We've lost, or not all of us, but many of us have lost that ability to just tune in and hear what is going on inside of our own hearts and minds and thoughts, even, So, this practice is super helpful to, like I said, tune in. And it's not about discipline, in my opinion, because when we discipline, we're like imposing shoulds from the outside. The most gentle discipline is to tune in and find out what is it that would be best for me right now. And that's self-kindness. And that's what self-care really is about. And starting to practice that's just a first step, but that leads you down a whole new path of really honoring yourself, learning to hear your voice, following your own intuition. All these things, that to me is what leads to a more fulfilling life. Anyway, you deserve to take care of yourself in ways that make the most sense to you, not to anybody else. What would feel best to you in this moment? That's what we all deserve. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll see you on the next vid. Oh, hi. My sidekick actually has something to say.